Each of our partners gets a fully dedicated CODA footprint instance that's going to be branded for that specific partner. It's fully multi-tenant. I'm going to log in with a global admin that's going to give me access to all of the customer environments. It is free of charge for pre-sales engagements. So you can use this as a pre-sales tool when you go in and you want to do an initial assessment. We're not going to charge for that unless you win that business over and you could you enter into a management contract with them for a managed service on top of the platform. The types of managed services that our partner base delivers on top of the platform range from vulnerability management to some of them are more into GRC, so risk management is also possible, or attack surface management, as we like to call it, because we bring that prioritization layer on top of just pure detection. So these would be my client environments. As an MSP, you'll have access to the backend console of it. So you can go in and provision new environments for new clients, and you can choose what type of customers you want to have in there. I'll just go ahead and get into one of these, and then we can take a look at the MSP console as well to show you some of the capabilities in that space. So inside of the platform, you can work with external scanners, such as scanning internet exposed assets from the outside. You'll see the list of deployed scanners here. By default, each of these clients can be scanned from the outside using our cloud scanner. It sits in our cloud and it's going to scan from the outside. You can deploy internal network scanners as well. These are virtual machines that you can deploy wherever you'd like. It could be in your infrastructure or it could be in the customer's infrastructure. And you can combine that with agents as well. You can deploy agents on some of the machines, all of the machines, or there's also an option to deploy what we call an AD integrated scanner. So we deploy the agent once, it's going to scan the other machines. All of that is going to start pushing data within these dashboards. In the elements, you're going to see these are the devices that have been discovered and scanned, either by an external scanner, like in this case, the cloud scanner, by an agent, or by one of the internal scanners. But everything at the end of the day comes to be a device. And we also have the full application inventory, and then we also automatically group the devices or applications into collections. We call them contexts, and they have the purpose of helping us report and helping you guys report. So the platform's automatically going to suggest some groups of applications based on what we've seen in other environments, but you can also create your custom collections so that you map them to the business processes that you want to have for specific client environments. By going into these business contexts, you can also specify which of them are more important to the customer's business. So those vulnerabilities are going to be ranked higher. And you can also specify, for example, development environments or testing environments to have lower business impact. So those vulnerabilities get treated with a lower scale. That being said, I think we can start by looking at the risk section and seeing how prioritization really helps here. So as you probably know from the other tools, CyberCNS and rapid fire tools, they give you an unfinishable list of potential vulnerabilities.
Mm-hmm.
What we do is we give you two filters that are really important, in my opinion. One of them is filtering out what's weaponized, so vulnerabilities that have active exploits available for them, be that in the underground or be that part of research or part of even pen testing tools. And the other one is filtering out what's actually exploitable within the customer's environment. So in this case, we can see that out of hundreds of potential vulnerabilities, only 3 of them are actually exploitable. The way we do that is we combine the vulnerability detection with the validation of the exploitation prerequisites. So if we take a look at the actual device, we can see what are the exploitation steps that the attacker needs to go through, similar to what you would have done in a pen test, in order to identify which of these are actually exploitable and why. So we're going to give you the exact location of where the vulnerable file is placed, what can be done in order to change that, things like that. So you'll have the specific exploitation steps list and the validation that each of them is possible. So not only do you have the information about what's vulnerable, but also why that could actually be exploitable. Be that because it's internet exposed, or be that because the actual configuration is misconfigured. The service is misconfigured, and
Gotcha.
that quickly tricks up in the risk report, but also in the remediation reports. So if you take a look at the remediation report, this is the list of actions across the specific client that we're looking at, that is ordered based on exploitation and weaponization, and then the rest of the things. These can be exported, sent over on a periodic basis. So you can subscribe to them to get them twice a month or 4 times a month, whenever you want to get them. On the other hand, you could also, I mean, I don't know if that's specifically how you want to deploy a service, but you could also give clients access to come in and see some of the data if you wanted to, or
Gotcha.
consume some of these reports by themselves. There's also a collaborative action plan. So, for example, if you would be in charge just for, let's say, the vulnerability detection and management, you could also work with another team or separate function that is in charge of fixing them. So you could actually say, hey, we think that these two, because they're weaponized and exploitable, we want to make sure that these are fixed by a specific deadline. So you can assign them to a specific user within the organization. I can put them to Jason, although he's not going to be very proficient at fixing these, but just
No,
for
no.
the fun of the day, or to a specific group. We see that Jason's not a member of the middleware Unix or Microsoft admins, but if he were, then you could have probably selected the group instead of the person, so that you assign them and you say, hey, we want these to be fixed. And then they move into what we call the action plan, where you could track them throughout the entire workflow of remediation. People that are in charge of remediation can come in here and say, I'll start working on this, so I'll move it to execution. And then in the execution phase, they can say that they can come in and say, I fixed this, so we're going to trigger a rescan. You don't necessarily have to be involved in the rescan process. It's going to be done automated. Or they can say, hey, you know what, for whatever reason, we're going to temporarily accept this risk. So we're going to accept this risk for a specific window of time because, I don't know, we've applied mitigating controls to this, or because we're replacing this service or server altogether in a specific window of time. So you get the picture of this.
Yeah, yeah. Just in case, you definitely don't want customers to have, let's say, downtime, right? Especially during business hours, so we'd want to select a time frame where it's not going to have a full impact on
Exactly.
the daily business. Sure.
Exactly. So they can manage that piece in here
Okay.
as well. Sometimes they don't want to have vulnerabilities appear in their reports, in their compliance reports, because they know about them and they choose to accept them. So that's going to move them into a temporary accepted risk state towards that deadline, and then when that deadline gets hit, they're going to move back into open.
Okay.
There are lots of reports that are pre-built here that you could leverage as part of the service. Some of them being, more high level, management reports. Some of them being more into, what's actually been fixed. How did the organization progress over time? What's the history of vulnerability criticality? As you can see here, they've added more servers. The security footprint has increased. Then they've started remediating, things are moving down. You can track that progress, and you can help them with these types of reports, be that for compliance or for just internal management and monitoring purposes.
And what is the PDF? Because I'm sorry, what does the executive report look like on PDF form? Is it this, or is it kind of broken down to more of a simplified, even more than this, like
um,
something that you can give a CEO or of a
so
company?
if you want to give something to a CEO or a company, I would say the customer vulnerability report or the cyber risk report. This is more of this is a longer type of report, but is focusing more on high level risk, on these, if you remember the business context that I mentioned, so the collections that should be meaningful to the client, showing them remediation tracking, how many vulnerabilities are in the different states. So this is a more appropriate C-level type of report. But
Okay.
also, I'd say the cyber risk report is you can generate a summary, which is the highest level report that we have in the platform. Is more like a PowerPoint type of report, with a couple of charts and a couple of graphs. And then there's a summary report that's more detailed, more in
Okay.
depth. I can absolutely send over some of these reports after our call, so you can take a look at them in more detail.
Yeah, yeah, that would be great. The one thing about I'm just throwing it out there, like rapid fire tools, they have a very, very simple executive summary list or documents that we can provide the customer. Where like a Tenable product, I haven't seen anything recently that has more of an executive level report. And there's a lot of deciphering from our side of things that we have to then throw on paper for the C-suites to look at. So I was just curious what that would look like.
So this is the 4 pages, the actually 2 pages report that gets produced out of the executive cyber risk report.
Okay.
Just funnels of total vulnerabilities, weaponized, remediations discovered, and where we started from, how many stuff the client has put in as scan, and then device criticality, risk insights, stuff like that. Just
Okay. Yeah, no,
super,
that's perfect. That's what I was hoping to see.
yeah. In terms of managing the product altogether, I'd say it's as simple as it gets. So you only have to deploy, or you only have to specify what you want to scan from the outside, and then deploy agents and or an internal VM for
Okay.
this. In terms of scheduling, I would say you can choose between monthly, weekly, and continuous scanning plans. These are available out of the box, um, and they're going to produce the reports, uh, all of the reports that I mentioned.
Gotcha.
Yeah, maybe we spend another minute or so in the MSP console just to give you a quick look at the back end of this. So
Yeah,
you'll be able
absolutely.
to generate what we call trials. So these are 14-day trials, but extendable to 30-day trials. That's typically used for new customer onboarding, going in, making an initial assessment, and then showing the client how this is going to look like. Um, but you can this is where you'd be provisioning your client base.